What is possible and what is not possible with a piece of rope. I'm here with the Dean of the Magic and Mystery School, Eugene Berger. We're here to show you the ropes or to share rope magic with you tonight. Watch the knot. Eugene? There it goes. Wait a minute. It's back. That's right. We're going to talk. Yes, thank you. Now, you used to do rope magic.
I did when I was a teenager.
You won an award?
I did. I won an award with the linking ropes. And what was special about my routine was you had 4 ropes, and they ended up in a solid chain at the end.
Oh, a solid chain of 4. So you must have had an extra something.
I did.
That was the key to the mystery.
It was the key to everything.
And for the key to the mystery, we'd like to thank our sponsors for sponsoring us. We have Ralph over at Wizards HQ and Howard, maker of amazing fine chop cups, and wonderful magic shop. I got to visit it live. The Magic Warehouse. Check out our sponsors, and for many of the books and products that we talk about tonight, check the sponsors below and also yourmagic.com, Tobias's site, to find out all about rope magic. And that's the subject tonight. We're here to show you the ropes. Now, Eugene, you also won another award recently, a FISM award?
I did. Yes.
And that is on?
For theory and philosophy.
Right? Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
And what makes it particularly exciting is the previous winners.
The previous winners are?
Tommy Wonder and Juan Tamariz.
So you're in very good company.
Sure.
And so are we. A FISM winner. Actually, we had 2 FISM winners. Mm-hmm. Eugene won a special award for philosophy and theory. And our student, Matthew Wright, placed just a few points underneath Jan Frisch, the Grand Prix winner, as it were. We have Larry Haas in the studio. We have Eugene. We're going to be talking about rope magic. I mean, my big mentor in rope magic, I actually had 2. One was George Sands. I grew up near George Sands in the Catskill Mountains, and he taught me the sensational rope routine, which was kind of the basis for Jeff Sheridan's rope routine, which he later published, the Swan Lake rope routine.
The basis for so much in rope magic.
Right, and now that's changed, and a lot of people do the tabari rope routine, every move of it. I get to work with Tabari, and we may have time to show Circe's exciting routine at the end of the show. We have a lot of resources for you tonight, too. Dr. Ayala put together an entire resource list, and we're going to have another contest for resource lists for this week's episode as well. Dr. J has a great start. You can go to the Facebook page right there that's underneath. And on my Facebook page on notes, because that's where it's really accessible right now. We may move these in the future to an online Mystery School TV archive. But there's a wonderful section of books and notes and videos compiled by our friend Dr. J, I hope, is in the house. We have Stonewick in the house, Kim Z, Cody Comet, Brian Hatcher was at our locked room the other night. We're going to be talking about other locked room adventures. Did you get to spend any time with Milburn Christopher ever?
No, I never did. He came to Chicago once, but I saw the show.
And he used to do the stretching rope trick, which is great. There's a lot of very offbeat rope tricks. We're going to be talking about some of those tonight on the show. And I know Larry...
Well, actually, Milburn did a whole rope act.
A whole rope act.
Yeah. And stretching rope was one of the pieces, exactly.
And I've seen other magicians hand out pieces of rope to the audience and have them follow them through complicated knots.
You know, rope is interesting because you can see it from the biggest theater. It's not going to take up much room in your bag. Mm-hmm. It doesn't weigh a lot, so it has lots going for it, really.
And one of your published scripts, your Hindu thread, and you have a couple of different scripts, and depending on the venue, I utilize your scripts using rope instead of the thread when I need to play really big, depending on the audience. We're going to talk about the symbology of rope a little bit, and Tobias Beckwith is up next from his Wizard's Corner. We have Leo Diaz, our mix master, that's going to take us right now to go visit Tobias Beckwith to find out a little bit about before you go,
I just want everyone, all of our friends, to know that I do have other than black shirts.
You do have other than black shirts.
It's really nice to be with you all tonight.
Right, and if you have questions for Eugene, please ask us tonight. Eugene is here, really hosting the masterclass party. We have our summer masterclass. We have George Parker here. We have Larry Haas, Bryce Kuhlman, Tobias Beckwith, Eugene, all of the teachers and students from around the world that are arriving right after our broadcast tonight. We're going to be doing a show. We're taking them around town.
Yep.
Taking them to see Mac King. We're taking them to the Wonderground.
And to Paul Vigil.
To Paul Vigil's show. They're going to get to see a lot of other shows here in town as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's a complete magic experience, guided by some of the masters of magic that we invite to our classes to meet our students, to greet our students. I mean, I know Lance has been invited tonight. He might show up. We don't know. But we hope so. We're going to get prepared for the party. Eugene's here, like I said, all week, but he's in the studio tonight. We have our friends out there, Dan Mindo.
Oh, Dan.
He says,
and Gordon.
He says, yes, and Gordon.
CJ.
Yeah.
Wow.
He says you borrowed that shirt. You did not.
No, I bought it.
At
Dan.
Tommy Bahamas. And now you know where he shops. Let's take a look at Tobias. Tobias?
Good.
This is really lagging tonight. Yeah.
We have a lot of people logged in.
Hi, this is Tobias Beckwith coming to you from my Wizard's Corner. Tonight, we're going to talk about magic with ropes. There are many effects that one can perform with a piece of rope. Knots can be magically tied or made to disappear. The rope can shrink, stretch, turn color. Two ropes tied into loops can be made to penetrate each other, just like the linking rings. A rope can become stiff and then again flexible. They can be cut into pieces and then restored into one piece again. It can all be very clever and delightfully puzzling. But like all merely clever tricks, it can also rapidly descend into becoming merely clever, good for a quick light hit of entertainment, but difficult to sustain and not very memorable. However, rope magic can easily become much more than that. Our friend, the late Earl Room, wrote a book called Communicating with Magic, all about how speakers can use magic to help them make their presentations more memorable and exciting. After all, one of the best ways to get and hold someone's attention is by surprising them, surprising their expectations. And magic is all about surprise. In that book, there's a chapter listing 16 common magic effects and how they can be used to help a speaker illustrate different points they might want to make. Of the 16, 3 are rope effects, more than for any other kind of magical prop. Why? Rope carries a certain amount of inherent symbolic meaning for us. It can be used to tie us up, to take away our freedom. We tie a string around our finger to help us remember something, and there are many ancient memory systems in which knots in a piece of string serve as reminders or symbols of different things. Snakes are the same shape as ropes. And so the symbolism that goes along with them, for some of us it's fear, it's a big phobia. For others it's a symbol of healing and enlightenment. It can be associated with a piece of rope. We use ropes for climbing or descending from high places. We use them to tie other things together. We swing on ropes. We use them to hoist sails and buckets. In short, the rope has many, many uses and associations. Perhaps the most famous feat in all of magic is a trick with rope, the Indian rope trick, in which a piece of rope is tossed into the air, becomes rigid, can be climbed, and symbolically connects invisible heavens with the earth. Seeking the inherent metaphoric meaning of various props that we use in a magic piece can be a really good jumping off place for our creative process. Let's suppose I've just fallen in love with a particular effect in which a piece of rope is cut and restored into one again. Now, can you think of 3 ways we might make that cutting and restoration more memorable? Penn and Teller came up with one. They used a live snake. Unforgettable. What other situations can you think of that would have an enhanced emotional impact? A rope someone might want to use to make an emergency escape from a high place, suddenly cut in half. What do you do? Or someone needs 2 pieces for something and they keep restoring themselves into one piece before they can be used. Could be comedy. I'm sure you can do better than that if you give it a few minutes thought. What would different kinds of people use rope for? What would a burglar have it? Why would a burglar have it? Or a doctor, a policeman, a teacher? You get the idea. When you answer those questions, you'll come up with possible stories around the rope. Rope is one of the great pack small props. You can buy it almost anywhere, and you can perform many, many different effects with it. So I would strongly encourage you to go get a piece of rope. Learn one rope trick, and then apply the magic of your imagination, your own creativity, as we've just been discussing, to turn that trick into a truly magical experience, one that's all yours. Till next week then, this is Tobias Beckwith coming to you from My Wizard's Corner. Now back to Jeff McBride and the whole gang in Las Vegas and around the world. Good night.
Sands, and that was really one of my teachers. George Sands was one of my teachers. That's him. And that's put out by Alan Sands, is putting that out now, and it's a book and a DVD, which is really great.
Tremendous.
And you know, a lot of modern magic rope routines are based on this routine. It's a light comedy routine. Most rope routines you see are light comedy or kind of razzle-dazzle routines. There's very few, like you, Tobias was talking about, that have a reflective nature. But we're here with Larry Haas, the Associate Dean of the Magic and Mystery School,
Hi, everyone.
who teaches many people the ropes in more ways than one. But tell us about your rope magic, because you're really working on this stuff.
Yes, a couple of years ago, I got really excited about a rope routine, and it has been 2 years in the making, and it hasn't premiered yet. But we're very, very close to that. So I've spent a lot of time in the last 2 years with rope in my hands, and I thought I have a couple of tips, things that have grown out of this long experience that I thought might be fun to share.
Okay.
First tip, if you're thinking about a rope routine, it's very important to know that not all rope is created equal.
No.
Many different kinds of rope, and with rope, I've found when doing magic work, you kind of get what you pay for. So you can get the really cheap stuff, but it's not going to be very satisfying, and it's not going to look great. Baronian Trading Company is
Baronian Trading Company. If anyone has a URL for that out there, I think it's just if you did a Google search on, it's like Baron, but yeah. Baronian Trading Company. Maybe Leo can put that up. They make just about the best rope that I've seen.
Yeah, and
that you can get on a consistent basis.
Yes. So that's where I finally landed. I finally, after trying dozens and dozens of different types of rope, I'm working with one of Danny Baronian's ropes. Another thing is not all scissors are created equal.
Ooh, the holy grail of scissors.
No. This is very easy to overlook. It's easy to think I can just take the shears out of the drawer and use it for my rope magic. And, this is not so elegant as you grind away on it. One of the most important tips about the scissors is to buy a really sharp pair, and Jeff will talk about that in a second, and never, ever use it for anything else, not even paper.
Look, let me jump in right here. Leo, could you grab Brian Hatcher is in the classroom, and he has the URL. It's www.baroniantrading.com. And Brian is very quick on the pickup there.
Fantastic. Thanks, Brian.
Does it have anything to do with him attending all of our locked rooms? I don't know about that. I think he's a pretty sharp guy. But these are, what are these, Mondial or Mundial?
Mondial.
Mondial. These were given to me by Mac King, a man who makes his living by cutting a rope. His routine based on the George Sands routine.
Yeah, has elements.
Right. Jeff Sheridan's routine based on the George Sands routine. Jeff Sheridan wrote, I think, the Swan Lake. So these are Mondial scissors, really great scissors. And like I said, you have to use them for nothing else other than cutting rope. Wow. Sharp, sharp, sharp. And another thing I would suggest is if you could track down a wonderful rope effect by Juan Mayoral called Mayoral's Rope. I'm trying to get it into frame here so you can all see it. This is just my fan here. And if I can just pull this off just properly, just give the rope a little fan, and there it is. One of the cleanest rope effects done silently on stage, Juan Mayoral's Rope. Yes, Juan Mayoral's Rope. So I want to share some of the stuff that I've really found useful in my day too. What else about ropes?
The second thing I would say is try to be fresh. You know, you have to learn on the classics. It's very important to learn the Sands routine and others. But when you're looking for something to go in your professional show or that you're going to do a lot, try to think about fresh angles for it so it doesn't look like so many other rope routines. That was important to me.
Well, you know, you have to imitate before you can innovate.
Exactly.
And go through. And I still see new rope routines. I was down with Ricky Boone down, I believe, was it Tennessee? Yeah, down in Tennessee. And no, Asheville, North Carolina, Ricky Boone's shop, and he was talking about this rope routine that totally blew me away. It was called the Zip Over Rope Routine. It was sold as a separate manuscript. And for anyone that tracks this little thing down, I believe it's in Tarbell 7, you will have something absolutely wonderful. Everybody I showed it to them are totally amazed. And if you were paging through Tarbell, you would just breeze right past this thing, and because it doesn't look like much. And the same thing with, I believe, the Stuart James book, the Abbott's book. There is a ton of stuff in here, and in Tarbell that you just see a scissor and a bunch of ropes in a little circle, and you just go, oh, you just can't take the time or the rope or to put in. This is a priceless resource. And again, Dr. Ayala has some more resources, and I believe we're going to be talking with Bryce Kuhlman about some other sort. Anything else before you get back to the party here?
One last tip I would say is try to think to yourself, what is this piece of rope magic going to be about? There are a lot of comedy rope magic routines, and that's great, perfectly legitimate, but it doesn't have to be a comedy rope routine.
Correct.
Think about what else could this piece of rope magic be about rather than moves, and just that's something to get you started. It doesn't have to be comedy.
And or the adventure of the props in the magician's hands.
Right.
Right, which is a little bit different when Tabary does it. You know, that's so poetic, and he's like James Bond with a piece of rope. Let's face it.
Then it's like art rather than props.
So we have some more rope effects to share with you tonight. Larry's going to get out to welcome the master class with Eugene Berger and the rest of the crew. We're going to go visit Bryce Kuhlman and some kick-ass reviews.
With Bryce Kuhlman.
Okay, there's no ass kicking this week. Actually, the reason I'm wearing this is because I was going to show you a new routine that I've been working on for a few months. It's a rope trick, with my dagger, my fan. You know what? I recorded it, and it's too damn long. I have a short segment. I don't want to bore you guys. Maybe someday later. Look, I love rope routines. When I was 16 years old, I learned Daryl's version of the sensational rope. I have been doing it ever since. I have literally done this trick thousands of times. Restaurants, stage shows, you name it. In fact, if you see me perform live, chances are this is one thing you will definitely see. And thanks to an inspiration a few years ago, I now have a script, which I never had. It was just a beautiful piece of magic for the longest time. And thanks a lot. Personal shout out to Larry Haas at a recent masterclass. Really helped me put the fine touches on this new routine. So if you want to get into rope magic, you want to learn a bit more, let's start with the basics. The Encyclopedia of Rope Tricks. Yeah, there it is. Stuart James, the original. This is the new version. It's like 1.25 inches thick, 400 plus pages. Yeah, a lot of material. A few years ago, Richard Sanders came out with Fiber Optics Extended. If you're into the visual parts of this, you know, the pulling the ends off, or putting the ends back on, the visual restorations, this is chock full of that stuff. But I want to talk about 3 routines that are on the market that you may not know about that are all excellent. The first one, I'm working on it. I know Jeff's working on it. I know I've mentioned it here once before. Mac King's Other Rope Routine. This is gold. It's a 3-phase routine. First phase is sort of sensational-esque, and it ends at the end. You've brought somebody up out of the audience, no cueing, no pre-show, and they restore the rope in their own hands and have no idea how they did it. It will bring the house down. and you can get it. I think they're $10. MacKingShop.com. Yes, it's a plug. He's a client of mine, but $10. Trust me, you're going to want this. The second one is from our friend Dan Harlan. This is called The Awakening. And let me tell you, if anyone on the planet was going to improve on the Professor's Nightmare, it's probably Dan. And you know what? He did. Here's a sort of slightly shortened version of the demo clip.
Well, there was a trick that I wanted to learn when I was really young. It used 3 ropes: a long rope, a medium rope, and a short rope. And I read the description of the trick, and the description of the trick read like this. It said that you would take the 3 different lengths of rope and instantly change them into 3 ropes that were the same length. And I thought, wow, that's a trick that I want to learn. You'd have this rope the same as that one, this rope the same as that one, all 3 ropes equal. And then it said that you would just pull them through your hand, and they would be a short, a medium, and a long rope. And I thought, oh, there is the trick. That's the one I want to learn.
I don't know about you guys, but the first time I saw this, I was smoked. Great routine. Obviously a different method than the original that you all know. There's some things that you can do with this one that you can't do with the other one, and vice versa. But if this appeals to you, check it out. DanHarlanMagic.com. Buy it directly from Dan. The last one I want to tell you about is a thing called 4 Nightmares by Tenyo. It's sold by Seyo Magic, seyomagic-usa.com. You can get it directly from them. Here's the demo. I think you'd have to agree that's some pretty cool stuff. So that's all I got for you this week on Rope Magic. Again, I love it. You fold it up, you put it in your pocket, and you can work the largest stages in the world. Until next time, have a good night. Bye-bye.
Reviews with Bryce Coleman.
Frame, right?
There it is.
With the Professor's Nightmare, and you saw an amazing version of it by Dan Harlan.
Yeah, it was great.
And you can track that down at any of our sponsors. Ask Ralph Weber at Wizards HQ or Howard at Magic Warehouse where to get this stuff. For the McBride stuff, you can get my rope routine at yourmagic.com. It's on McBride on Stage Volume 1, which was the hub of my act. I'm here with Tim Wise.
Hey, everybody.
And the reason Tim's here a little bit early is because he's got an amazing rope effect, absolutely amazing rope effect. And ropes, for me, were the core of my material. I would, for many years, I would do my opening, whatever my opening was, and then I would do cut and restored rope, ring on rope, and then give the rope away to the audience, which I think is important, giving the rope away. And then I would do my ring routine, and that was and then I would do whatever my audience participation and my finale. But my rope was core. No, I always cored my rope, thank you, by pulling out the center. But I used to, when you're practicing, that's a tip that maybe some of the beginners don't know, is you can use clothesline, but you have to pull the core out.
It creates the
Don't try to do a whole 50-foot length. You have to kind of chop it up. Yeah, but you pull the core out. Now, you work with regular ropes, and one of the first things when I saw you when I met you, we would go over to the Darwin Magic Club, and you would do these rope routines and these rope knots. Tell people how you got started with this.
All right. Well, back when I was 16 years old, I traveled with Dennis Loomis. You can look up Dennis. He's been a magician for years and years and years. And in his show, he used to do the one-handed throwing a knot with one hand. And when I was a kid working with him, I would be backstage practicing, watching him do it. He taught me the technique. And it's essentially taking a piece of rope, and I don't know if you can see this. I'll try to stand up.
Stand up.
But I can just tie a knot in the rope.
By snapping it just like that.
Okay, snapping the knot.
First time, every time.
Okay.
Look at that.
So I practiced that, for years.
Which is hard to do.
By itself, it is. And then I went to Loomis, and there you go, Jeff. It's not that hard, apparently.
Oh, I actually practiced this.
Okay. But so Loomis did this on stage, and then when I practiced it, I went to him one day, and I said, look, I can do it, I can do it. And he says, that's really great, but can you do it with your left hand? Like any good juggler, right? Ambidextrous. So I practiced with my left hand, and when I went to say, look, I can do it with my left hand, he says, well, can you do it simultaneously? So I had to go back and practice it simultaneously.
And you,
right? So so that's over time, almost a year, and then I was able to do it, and I've been doing it for 30 years. I moved to Vegas, went to the Darwin Magic Club, threw a bunch of ropes out, and I said, guys, try this, and everybody was snapping. Some could do it, some couldn't. And I posed the question. I said, do you think, because I've been trying for 30 years, do you think it's possible to link the knots as you throw the knots?
So you're going to throw the knots, and
one in
both
each hand
knots are going to
look like this at the finish, right? And so I posed the question to everybody, and they said, well, maybe.
So you have to link the knots simultaneously. So as each one are tying, they have to loop and link.
Loop and link.
So impossible.
Right. Well, that's what everybody said, including me, because I've been doing it for 30 years and not able to do it. Well, after the Magic Club, I went home a couple days later. It was early in the morning. Hadn't even had coffee. I picked up the ropes. I missed the first time because I've been trying this. And then the second time I hit it. And it was accidental. And I ran into the living room, and I showed Rosie. I said, Rosie, check this out. And she grabbed those ropes, and they're still on the wall. But then I typed Loomis, and I said, Dennis, is this possible? Do you think that he goes, I don't believe you can do it. Until you send me a video, I don't believe you can do it.
Why don't we watch that video that was just shot here just moments ago?
Yeah, we just shot it. So, Leo, you can roll that clip. And this is the first time it's ever been seen
by
in the public.
anyone. We're in the House of Mystery with Tim Wise.
Hey,
Let's see the impossible knot, two ropes linking.
I call this not possible. Here we go. There it is, ladies and gentlemen.
Two knots.
linked.
Look at that.
Whoa.
Two
Just
knots.
like that. I
First
call it
time.
Not possible.
Now let's examine this. Are two single
overhand knots,
and you've linked them both together like linking two pretzels while you bake them.
That's
amazing.
Right. With
and you're gonna have an instant download on this soon, aren't you?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Look for it.
Okay. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, right? It's actually pretty impressive to watch, too. But that was over time. And so now I can hit it maybe, if I'm really practicing, maybe 1 out of 4 times. And I wrote Loomis, and Loomis said back to me after I sent him the video, he said, thank you for dispelling a myth.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've dispelled
it is possible.
It is possible, so we're going to put that together as a download
and we'll let
teach
you know
how to do it.
And that will be on the Rope Magic resources. Now, I want to give some interesting resources. I saw Paul Gertner do an amazing lecture where he had people throw out corporate products and topics, and he went instantaneously into a corporate pitch using the 3 principles of the corporate message with stretching a rope. It's one of the most versatile magic effects. It's the professor's nightmare, and a very commercial effect because you can take different principles and
tie it into
all different sorts of messages. There's this professor's nightmare. This is also called The Awakening by Ron Dayton as Kota, the Elder Magician. It's all different presentations for Professor's Nightmare. And there's also, I really love this, Secrets of the Professor's Nightmare and there's Michael Finney is on here, and Dan Fleshman, and Bob Reed, and Al Schneider, and Mark D'Souza, and Danny Tong doing their very commercial routines. I'm going to talk about some wonderful resources. Rope Eternal by Daryl Fitzke. And again, we have a complete resource section for you, not only on my Facebook that Leo will put up there, but also do some research on mylovelyassistant.com as well. I had a lot of magic teachers that showed me the ropes, that taught me rope routines. And they pack small, they play big. You get the sharp scissors, you get great rope, you can get audience involvement. Like Eugene said, you can see it to the back of the house.
Well, it's really interesting too because it's a common item: scissors and rope. And that's it. Right? There's not probably one person, adult, that's never.
And once you learn the principles, then you can do what, like I say, imitate before you innovate. One of the things that shocked the magic world, I think it was back in the late 80s, was Penn and Teller on Saturday Night Live doing cut and restored snake. But unless you do cut and restored rope, you're not doing cut and restored snake.
Yep.
So there's a lot to be learned in the different resources, like Daryl's Expert Rope Magic Made Easy. There's 3 volumes that are wonderful. And I believe Aldo Colombini has wonderful DVDs as well. Daryl has great stuff on ropes. And he's got that, the Jumping Knot of Pakistan routine. That's wonderful. And a lot of people learn that as their kind of go-to rope routine as well. I have a couple of more that I'm going to get to a little bit later on in the show. We're going to be back with the Street Report with Tim Wise. More on magic with ropes right after Jordan Wright and his Cinemagic segment. Let's take it to Jordan Wright.
Hey now, this is Jordan Wright here with another piece of Cinemagic, and tonight's theme is rope magic. And that's something I'm very excited about because rope magic has been a very big, important part of my working repertoire, probably since I've been doing stage magic. I've known many different versions and variations of rope routines over the years, from Professor's Nightmare to the Sands rope routine, and even in my show now, I do a version of the George Sands cut and restored rope routine. I'll share with you my favorite rope story real quick. I was in Beijing, China, with Jeff McBride, Matt King, Mike Caveney. We were on the Great Wall of China one day, and we were approached by this family of people, and Jeff does cards for mouth, and Mac pulls up his shirt and takes off his belt, which is actually a length of rope, and he starts doing his rope routine from his show, for this family of kids, and of course they were blown away. And I thought that was so clever how he took this trick and made it seemingly impromptu and something he carries with him all the time as his survival show. Really, so that was a neat little tidbit there. Okay. Anywho, the thing I like so much about the rope routine, cut and restored rope, sensational, rope-sational, Professor's Nightmare, Tabaret rope routine, is that you're taking this very organic, pure, natural object, a piece of rope, and you're doing really extraordinary things with it, which I think is, magic at its purest. And so I've always been quite fascinated by rope routines, some more than others, of course. But the other thing I really am drawn to, I guess, about rope routines is the possibility for metaphor. And certainly in the cut and restored rope, we can see the metaphor of destruction and creation, death and rebirth. In my show, for example, the cut and restored rope is very symbolic of the relationship that is breaking and then restoring. And I think it lends itself a lot to different metaphors. And so tonight, for the piece of Cinemagic that I've chosen, I found something that involves a piece of rope and is a great use of poetry and metaphor to make this inanimate object come to life and take on very supernatural capabilities. Now, this film tonight is by a filmmaker that is probably one of the most, if not the most, influential filmmakers on me, on my career. And I would even go so far as to say that were it not for seeing her films early on in my life, I probably would not have even pursued being a filmmaker. And the person I'm talking about is Maya Deren. And if you haven't heard of her, that's okay. because she's pretty obscure, and she only made 7 movies in her entire life. But her ideas were very progressive and were really almost revolutionary in terms of how to use the medium of film to convey more abstract things like dreams, imagination, psychology, philosophy, poetry. And her films weave together a lot of poetry and dream visuals that at the time in the 1940s when she was making movies really weren't seen in the way that she was doing them. So the film I'm going to show you tonight is actually a film that she made with Marcel Duchamp, one of the surrealists, who's very famous for making the urinal sculpture, but also a very influential artist on the 20th century, of course. And together they collaborated on this film called Witch's Cradle. Now, this film was never actually completed. So what you're going to see tonight is just a short excerpt of the 11 minutes of footage that exists but was never actually finished into a film. So, without any further ado, take a look now at Marcel Duchamp and Maya Deren's collaboration on a film called Witch's Cradle. Well, quite magical in nature, and a lot of occult imagery certainly depicted in this. So if you're interested in watching the full 11.5-minute version of this that exists, you can go to my blog, redspadeproductions.wordpress.com, and on there you can see the full-length cut of this little film. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope it gave you some more ideas of things that could be done with rope besides just cutting it and restoring it, and more so the way that rope lends itself to take on other meanings and symbolize other things. So that's all for this week. Until next time, this is Jordan Wright reminding all of you to keep it surreal.
And Jordan reminded me about these extraordinary string figures and how to make them. There's a whole subculture that's into storytelling, and there is an exhibit in California at the Museum of Jurassic Technology about Native American string figures and storytelling. And that's where I got turned on to some of these books. There's organizations, clubs, and internet websites that are devoted to string figures and how to make them. And they do this as a way of storytelling and passing on history. And it was very much a dying art. And they have actual films of old grandmother Native American Indians speaking the language, telling the stories of their history as they passed on, the oral history woven through the weaving of the string figures. So this might open people up to be able to do storytelling. And, you know, it's like rope magic is more than just cutting and restoring ropes or linking them together. It's a way, the line is a metaphor for the continuation of history and how lives weave together. So we're going to go now to George Parker, who's going to give us some practical applications for rope magic from his creative mind, big ideas and little ideas. George?
Hi, my name is George Parker from Amsterdam. Welcome to this week's episode of Big Idea, Little Idea. This week's topic is rope magic. Now, ropes are really difficult, I think. I started doing ropes, and first of all, well, we all jump to the old classic material when we're stuck or we're learning something, just as I did when I started doing magic back in the 90s. Now, I ran into the fact that it's very versatile, it packs small, it plays big, it can be very magical when you come up with the right routine, but I had difficulty with it. Well, simply because a rope is just a rope. It isn't a prop that's interesting in itself, like, for example, Dean's box, which also works with a rope, but the box in itself is the kind of draws you into the act. Or any other well-crafted prop. The prop simply isn't, in my mind, very interesting to look at. So, how do you escape that? Well, in my mind, there are two options. Either you are Pavel, Tabari, or Flip, or any other guy who's brilliant and wildly creative with creating rope acts, or you're not those guys and you read their material to come up with the brilliant. That's one way to go. That lifts up the rope in itself because impossible things happen. The second way to go is to add a really interesting and fascinating script while you're doing the moves. And obviously the third way is bringing the two together, pick out one of those brilliant routines, one of those guys, and add a really interesting script that fascinates you and will fascinate the audience. Now, I'm about to demonstrate one of my routines. And back in the early 90s, when I started to do magic, I ran into this rope thing. And before I knew it, I was studying rope for a year. And my only aim was to come up with just one original act. All original as in, I worked on it, I added techniques, I added a script, I made it my own. And obviously I ran into the Professor's Nightmare early on, because that's a classic, a really nice premise and a nice, good trick, and people have been working on that, and you'll see my version shortly. I haven't released this, so I'm just demonstrating it as part of my repertoire, but you can study the Professor's Nightmare in any rendition, any variation, many places. So here we go. There is a rad storyline running through all of our lives. Some people think that red storyline is all about reality, tangible reality, things you can touch, you can see, you can buy, you can pick up. Other people say no. There's a second part to life. It's called imagination. Other people can't see it, although it's very much alive inside of your mind. Your inner world and your outer world. Personally, I think there's a third part to life. It's magic. Now, when you separate the one from the other, you're left with three loose pieces: tangible reality, imagination, and magic. And when they're separated, magic tends to diminish in our lives. It tends to shrink until there's almost nothing left. And that all in favor of too much stress on either reality or imagination. Is this an illusion? Sure it is. But once you put a lot of attention into imagination and connect it with reality, you're left with real reality. Now, in order to restore this, you first need to acknowledge the three parts: reality, imagination, and magic. And once you've done that, the parts are still loose: reality, imagination, and magic. So there's a second step. To acknowledge that magic isn't something you can buy or pick up. It's something that happens when reality is connected with imagination. Because when imagination touches reality, magic is created. And so you'll see the real red storyline through all of our lives. Thank you. Now today's little idea is a suggestion I'd like to make. I used to do rope magic as a restaurant worker. I shrunk down rope routines, and I didn't keep them in my repertoire, obviously, but I used to play with this tiny piece of rope, not magician's rope, but rope you can buy at Home Depot or some other do-it-yourself shop, or maybe a garden center where gardening tools, and they have. I used to use it as a kid. It was very small, and we used to connect it to our kites. This rope, actually, there's a Tarbell, I think volume 1, there's a trick with this type of small rope, and I demonstrated it once on the show. But my suggestion would be, look at your rope repertoire or study rope. What could you do to shrink it down as a close-up act? Maybe even an act that will fit your wallet act, which is an offbeat, because most of the time it's coins and cards, and now you add a little rope to it. All for this week. I'll shoot it back to Vegas. Have a good week. This was George Parker from Amsterdam.
Now a word from our sponsor, me. Buy my book. All right. If you haven't had the pleasure of reading the Show Doctor book, it's available from Magic and Theory and Art Press, and you can get it from Larry Haas. We have some suggestions here. Gordon Meyer from Chicago says, study the rope magic of Pavel. He's got a lot of good DVDs. I know that the L&L put some really great DVDs out on that as well. I do know that Andrew, our Montana mystic, tracked down AlanSands.com. That's where you can get the George Sands rope routine book and DVD. Also, our friend Brian Hatcher, cybernet sleuth that he is, tracked down string figures, some string figures at .info. What is that, CFI? Anyway, the link is there. Thanks to Brian, who's really in the classroom, searching out, helping everybody. And we have upcoming episodes on themes. Next week is prop building. And I'm going to show you how I build my props. We're going to be talking all about prop building. George Robert will be on the show talking about his wonderful props that he builds. Brainstorming is coming up. Books versus video is coming up. Also comedy and parlor magic. I know CJ May, who was just in our locked room session the other night on Coin Magic, Miser Stream for Stage, he suggested spirit magic. So we'll have that on around just before Halloween, early in October, so you can actually apply some of the stuff later on. Type in the chat room where you are watching from. We have people from all over the world. I know that Forrest, who is usually watching us from London, is in the house tonight because he decided to come to the summer masterclass. So Forrest Wang is here. We have Kay and Turi from Stockton, California. We have North Carolina, Missouri, Tennessee, Canada, Baker City, Boston, wow, Alabama, Billings, Montana, Wisconsin, Canada. And then what happens is later on tonight, people start watching on demand from Europe and South America and all over. So those are some of the upcoming episodes that we have coming out to you. One of the upcoming classes that we have in October is one of our most popular. It's the Street Magic class with Mario Morris from the School of Busking. We're going to go see what Mario has to say. Mario?
Hi, this is Mario Morris coming to you from the Magic Centre, the home of the School of Busking here in United Kingdom, Cardiff. This week's been Carnival Week. Cardiff Carnival. Huge processions, loads of shows. I was emceeing the main stage in the city centre at Cardiff where we had over 10 acts throughout the day. Samba, dance, vibrant movement and of course a little bit of rope magic. Rope magic is a versatile tool that a street performer can use in an open air setting. It packs small and it can play big. The Professor's Nightmare, cut and store rope, my own linking rope routine, which you can read about and learn about in my manual, the Street Performer's Manual. All of these are great because they can repeat. You can repeat these routines over and over again, which is great when you're building up that audience. When your audience isn't quite strong enough to start the main heart of your show, if you like. Building and building. That's one of the things I find ropes to be really good for. Have a look at this next clip. It's myself performing the linking rope routine in the open air on the streets. This is Mario Morris, back over to the team, and I'm sure I'll be speaking to you soon.
Quick trick. 1, 2, 3. 3 ropes tied by 3 different people. Watch. 15 years practice, no social life. That's true. Watch. 1, 2. That's the kind of reaction I was expecting. I'll do it again. I'll keep on doing it till you all like it. Watch. 3 ropes. You get 1, 2, 3. Stranger than fiction. 1, 2, 3. 3 ropes tied by 3 different people. This time is your turn, not mine, but your turn. I've got 3 ropes. I'm going to ask you all to do me a small favour. Stretch out your hands like that, everyone. Front and back, like that, both of them. That's it, I don't know. 20 your fingers like this, and you go. Louder. It's like David Copperfield. 1, 2, 3.
We're back here. We have a full class of masterclass students, and we've decided that we're going to maybe bring them on in here and show them to you at the end of the class here. But we have a couple more things happening here. We have a Wonderground report coming up with Leo Diaz because we have a great Wonderground because it's all of the Mystery School is here, and we're all going to be performing and doing our very best. Plus, we have some special guests on the show that Leo Diaz, DJ Shinobi will tell you about. But first, the Street Report. Tim Wise. Hey everybody, it's Tim Wise. I'm here in Jeff's seat, and I think we're going to be bringing the class in here in just a minute. But how's everybody? Welcome to the Street Report. It's great to be here. We got a great week of magic here with the Mystery School, and if you're interested in becoming a part of the students here at the school, just sign up for one of the classes. It's really great, and it will change your magic life. Magi Fest, Columbus Magi Fest is back on. They canceled it, but Joshua J. and Andy Gladwin are bringing it home. They're going to bring it back, so it's January 24th through the 26th. Magi Fest, you know, a tradition in magic, just like Abbott's. It's back on. Gabe Fajuri, my good friend in Chicago, and Potter Magic is doing an auction of all of Charlie Reynolds' personal belongings in magic. Great. And I think I saw Gabe just posted something about having to pack 15,000 books. I don't know if that's related, but that's a lot. Also, over there at the Tropicana, Murray's taking a break and going to Tahiti, and Mark Bennick is going to be replacing him for, I believe, a week at the Tropicana, 7 o'clock, if you want to catch that show. Also, if you were tuning in last week, the Penn & Teller show in Orlando called Penn & Teller Nuked Las Vegas, that is opening in Orlando coming up. Larry Haas was here today with the class, and he wanted me to remind you also that he has a locked room session with just a few seats left on Saturday, August 25th at 10 a.m. Pacific, and it's for all our European friends. We're going a little bit earlier in the night or the day, depending on where you're from. We're going earlier at 10 a.m. Pacific time to talk about his class, How to Create Entertaining Card Magic. So that's coming up. Also, Dirk Arthur, thank God for Dirk Arthur. He here in town housed the CJ Chimp. We had an escaped chimp. There was 2 chimps about 3-4 weeks ago, just before our last Wonderground, that escaped. And the police had to take one of the chimps down, but the other one was captured. Well, then that captured chimp escaped Saturday, and Dirk Arthur decided to open up his compound there and house the chimp before they send the chimp up to Oregon. Also, happy birthday to James Randy. Happy birthday to you at 84. And also, we're talking about rope magic tonight. If you go to the iTricks website, they've got a great clip of Harry Anderson doing a rope routine that just kills. So check that out. On the street, you've got Adam Flowers, Tim Wise, me as the genie. You have Leo Diaz out there in front of the Mirage, Jungle Josh out there. And if you want to find out what's going on in the theaters, go to LasVegasWeekly.com. And if you have any questions for me, tune in here at the show or type an email to me at tim@abra.tv. And now I'm going to take just a second and I'm going to throw it over to Leo for the Street Report. No, actually, what am I talking about? The Wonderground Report. Wonderground coming up this Thursday, and it's a big one. Leo, tell us about it. Come on in.
Hey, party people, it is your #1 magician, DJ Shinobi. It is I, Master Diaz, here live, and we are at the McBride Magic and Mystery School, and it is quite an exciting week. Mainly, well, every third Thursday we have the Wonderground, Las Vegas' #1 magical nightclub experience, and we are doing it this week, every third Thursday at the Olive Mediterranean Hookah Lounge at 3850 East Sunset Road. We get together and throw an event that is unforgettable. And this month is a wonderful event. As a matter of fact, this month, the special guests that we're having at Wonderground is going to be huge. First of all, not only do we have the students of the McBride Magic and Mystery School making an appearance, we have all of the facilitators and teachers. We have Eugene Berger, we have Larry Haas, we have George Parker, we have Bryce Coleman, we have Jeff McBride, we have myself, and Tim Wise, all hosting the event live at the Wonderground. If you are not available here live in Las Vegas and you still want to join us, you can still log on at McBrideMagic.tv, and at around 9:45 log in, check in, jump in the chat room, because we will be going on live for the main show experience. So you definitely do not want to miss that. If you want to find out more about our performers, well, one of our favorite performers coming in this month is CJ Wright. CJ Wright is a percussionist. We'll be bringing in a whole set of drums, and he's going to be rocking it out live at the Wonderground. Now that's going to be exciting. We have the Mystery School students in place. We have the teachers. I mean, you want to be there, definitely live at VegasWonderground.com and McBrideMagic.tv at 9:45. Now, we're going to swing it over to Jeff McBride, who's actually standing by in the studio with some of the classroom teammates there. So, Jeff, what you got to say?
Jeff there, so... Thank you, Leo Diaz. I just also wanted one of our favorite magicians, Jimmy Fingers, will be performing on the early show as well. It's going to be quite a night. Get down there early or tune in on McBrideMagic.tv. Hey, the class is here. Woo-hoo! Yeah, this is our opening night party. All of the students are in the library where there's all of these resources at the disposal, and all of the DVDs. We have thousands of DVDs and video archives. I do want to mention two more things because this is the Rope Magic Professor's Math by Aldo Colombini. Absolutely a great rope routine. Get it? Bizarro turned me onto it. It will fool magicians. It'll fool laymen. And finally, Daniel Rowan, Magical Rope Artistry. It's a real purist book, and it's available, Magical Dan Publications, 300 Elmwood Drive, Culpeper, Virginia, 22701. It's a private publication. This guy showed me his amazing rope magic. Well, we're going to go out with two of my favorite clips of rope magic. Circe was one of our favorite performers at the Wonderground. Circe Martinez from Cuba is going to do her kind of jazzed out version. It's a very nightclub version of the Tabaret rope routine from Tabaret from France. Followed by that, we're going to show a clip of David Copperfield, the great David Copperfield, performing just a fun You Do As I Do rope routine that he used to do in his show, and he did it on TV as well. And it's a real personality piece if you've never seen him do it. So these are, two real fun, straight-ahead magic rope routines. We do want to thank our sponsors, Magic Warehouse and Wizards HQ, and everybody out there for contributing resources. You can drop me email, jeff@mcbridemagic.com, and I'll put your resources on my Facebook page. You can put the Facebook page up there again. Do check out some of our upcoming classes. We're going to have a lot of fun with our friends this week. 7-day masterclass starting tonight here at the McBride Magic and Mystery School in Las Vegas. We'll see you next Monday, because remember, Monday is a school night. See you next week. Woo!
Here to present an original take on a classic rope routine, the scintillating sensual sorcery from Cuba, Circe. Circe from Cuba. Ladies and gentlemen, Circe! Circe!
Maybe I should just get somebody out of the audience. Hello. Come with me. What's your name? Corey. Right this way, Corey. And give Corey a big round of applause. Corey, hold on to this. Hold on it. Hold on, make sure it doesn't stretch. Is it good and strong? Hold on tight. Keep holding. Needed to get you to come over here. We're holding these scissors. How you doing? I'm going to teach you a classic of magic. It's a classic of magic. It's how to cut a rope in two pieces and put it back together into one solid piece, okay? All right, here's what you got to do. Stand here like this. Do you mind if I get close to you? No. I need you to cut it right in the center. I've got it measured out, so they're two equal pieces. Cut it right there. And very important that they're equal pieces of rope. Clip off the long end there. Good. Very important that they're equal pieces of rope. You're doing very well so far. Very important that... I got a better idea. Why don't we just start all over at the beginning? There you go. Sorry. Nothing personal. Corey, you need a piece of rope for yourself, so just cut it right there. It doesn't matter. No, there you go. We would have been in trouble then. Hold on to that. I'll take this, put the scissors in a safe place. Don't try this at home. Corey, the first thing you got to learn is how to let the audience know when it's time to applaud. Okay? You got to give them a cue. So what you do is you hold onto the rope like this, stretch it out between your hands by the ends, and you strike a pose. That's it. You hold it there. Okay? That's it. So when I say strike a pose, what are you going to do? Perfect. Very good. Very good. If you remember that, everything will be perfect. Okay? Stand right over here. I'm going to show you the first way. 3 different ways to do it, but here's the first way. You take the rope and you cut it in 2 pieces like that. Corey, your scissors are in that can right there. Take the scissors out of the can and cut the rope in 2. Cut the rope in 2. Cut, cut, cut. Snip, snip, snip. After it's cut, put the scissors back in the can. Perfect. Good. Come over here and watch. Oh, you're doing very well. Hold on to the rope like this. Here's the second way. You find the center. You bring it up and you cut it in 2. Take the scissors off the table and cut the rope in 2. Cut, 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 trim, trim, trim. After it's cut, put the scissors back on the table. Perfect, good. And come over here. Watch. And strike a pose. Now we're going to show you the third and final way. This is the third version. It's my favorite. This is where you cut both ropes. You cut your rope, you cut my rope, and you use my scissors. So take my scissors. I'll tell you, I got a better idea, Corey. I got a second pair of scissors right here in my pocket. Why don't you use those? Okay, just cut the rope right here. Good. That's for you. You hold on to that. Fine. I'm going to do the same thing with my rope. I'm going to tie it in a loop. I want you to cut opposite the knot. That way you'll cut both pieces of rope. There you go. Cut right there, right in the center. Excellent. Let me have the scissors. This is the big finish. Are you excited? So am I. Stand right here. Hold it by the end. Hold it in your right hand. The other right, Corey. Don't spit. It's your turn, Corey. I know you can do it.